Hi, and welcome to STEM Special Tips Every Month, a bi-monthly series brought to you by STEM Education Works. This is Corey, the Director of Curriculum and Professional Development. In this first installment of our STEM series, we'll be learning about Sphero EDU Classroom. If you haven't met Sphero yet, please check out the Sphero website or their YouTube channel. Our focus will be on how to integrate Sphero robotics into your classroom in an intentional, purposeful manner using the classroom feature. In this session, we'll be setting up your account, adding classes and assignments, sharing programs, viewing the classroom from a student's perspective, adding and syncing classes with Google Classroom, and archiving classes. See you in the next video. Before you can get into the classroom feature, you'll need to sign in or create an account. Start at edu.sphero.com, and at the top right of your screen, you will select Sign In. Make sure to select Teacher so that you have access to the classroom features. We will be looking at the classroom from a student's perspective later on in the video, but for now, select Teacher. You can create an account based on a username or password, or you can use single sign-on with Google or Clever. I'm going to sign in with Google. This brings us to the introductory page. You will see some basic information, as well as a link to Getting Started tips and Getting Started for educators. Once you've read through this information, you can avoid this page by selecting the box next to I don't want to see this page on login. At the top of the page, you'll see several options: Home, Activities, Programs, Classes, and Drive. We are going to spend our time today in Classes, so let's go ahead and select it. If you hover over Classes, you'll see Learners, Assignments, and Moderate. Let's select Learners. This takes you to the class page where you can see all of the classes you have created. You can easily move over to Assignments to see all of the assignments that you assigned to your classes and students. And the next portion will be adding new classes. To add a new class, you will need to select Add a New Class. Here, you'll have to make a decision. There are three options for creating classes: Class Code, Standard Class, and Standard CSV. Class Code is by far the easiest way to get students signed up for your class and works really well for young learners and teachers who want a streamlined and simplified classroom experience. Standard Class is a more robust option, but it also takes longer to set up. You would create usernames and passwords for each student and assign them activities. Student programs are saved to individual accounts rather than to a classroom page. Now, this is a good option for older students or for teachers who want access to all Sphero EDU features. Finally, you can create a roster in a CSV format using the roster template. Simply download it, copy and paste from your own roster or type in the information, and then upload it back to Sphero EDU. This option will provide the same advanced features as the standards class. Once you've made your decision, it's time to actually add the class, which we'll do now. If you've decided to go with the class code, which is definitely the easiest option for you and your students, you'll want to select Class Code. Give your class a name. I used Team SO for STEM Education Works, and then submit. You'll be asked to add your learners by their first name and last initial, and you'll be given a code that you can then share with your students. You can also have students add their own names to the list when they use the code to access your classroom. Your class will now be listed on the side of the screen. To add a standard class, you'll need to add a new class, then Standard Class, give your class a name, but you will have to add quite a bit more information for each of your students. So we're going to submit. And as we add learners, you'll see that we need to start with the student's birthday. And then we'll have to give the student a username, a first name, a last initial, and then you'll need to create a password and confirm that password. You can also upload a profile picture for that student. And once you've done that, you will again have your class on the left side of the screen. You can add learners from there as well. And then finally, you can use a standard CSV upload. So if you do that, where it says download, you'll click download and you will get a template, a Microsoft Excel template where you can type in or copy and paste your roster information and then upload it back into Sphero EDU. You will then get a standard class just as if you had entered those things in manually. So regardless of how you set up your class, you are now ready to begin adding assignments. Adding assignments is very simple in Sphero Classroom. Start by clicking the Assignments tab at the top of your screen. Select Assign Activity. If you've created any of your own activities, they will appear at the top of the screen. If you purchase the Sphero Computer Science curriculum, you'll find those activities under Computer Science Foundations Activities. If you scroll down to Sphero Activities, you'll find all the free programs from Sphero. You can filter by robot, by grade level, by duration, tags, standards, and language. Sphero uses Common Core standards, the Computer Science Teachers Association standards, Next Generation Science standards, and then state standards for Florida, Indiana, and Texas. I'm going to use the search feature because I know what lesson I want to assign. It's about coding a square so that students learn how to use loops. So I'll search for loops. And here's the activity, Blocks 1 Loops, that I want to use in my class. But I want to preview it first and make sure it has everything that I want. So when I preview the program, I get detailed information such as which robot the activity is compatible with, how long the activity should take, the intended grade level, how many users have liked this activity, and the learning objectives. I can also see tags related to the activity as well as the standards covered by it. I'm going to close the preview, and I like this activity, so I'm going to add it. So now you see that this activity has been added to my classroom under Assigned Activity. If I click on the activity, I can get a quick overview about how my students are doing with this activity. I can see by learner if they've started or completed the activity and what their status is. I can drill down further by clicking on their name, and now I'll see even more information, and I can scroll down to see which portions of the lesson they have completed and which ones they still have yet to do. Now I'm going to select Progress Report. Progress Report will allow you to do a few different things. First of all, you can select a standard and have the Progress Report print out what standards your students have achieved through the Sphero activities. You can run a quick report, which includes all students and all currently assigned activities, or you can print custom reports where you choose specific students and choose specific assigned activities to include. There's a handy feature here underneath that you can select where you will be emailed a quick report automatically once every month to keep track of your students' progress. You can share programs with your students, or they can share programs with each other or with you. Any shared programs will appear on the dashboard. I'm signing in now as a student with a code. The student will then select themselves from the list, but they can also, if they have not yet been added, add their name here and be added to your roster. But I'm going to choose myself from the list and confirm. And now I see the activities that have been assigned to me by the teacher. So there's that Blocks 1 Loops, as well as a rugby game. But I can also create my own programs by selecting Create a Program, naming my program, selecting the program type, if it's draw, blocks, or text, and then which are the compatible robots to go with this particular program. So I created a very simple block program earlier, and you can see it here. So a student could create their program, and then they can share their program as a link, or they can share their program with the teacher and their classmates. So now, when I sign back in as a teacher, you'll see that there is a shared program from my student. So this adds a whole layer of collaborative opportunities for your students to work on programs together, even if they are not in the same place physically. Now that you have your classes set up, you can easily add or sync them with Google Classroom. You will need to go through a verification process that will link your Sphero account with your Google Classroom account. Once you've done that, a click of a button will share your Sphero activities with your Google Classroom. Let's say you've made it to the end of the semester or year and it's time to say goodbye to your students. Instead of letting your classes pile up over time, you can use the archive feature. This will not delete your class, but it will hide it from view to keep your dashboard neat and tidy. Simply select the 3 dots next to your course name and then Archive Class. If you want to change your mind and reactivate a class, simply click on Archived Courses and then Unarchive Class. In this session, we've learned how to create a Sphero EDU account, set up and manage classrooms, and then keep things organized with the archive function. In our next series, we'll be working through a STEM Education Works lesson plan that integrates Sphero and language arts. See you next time. Thanks for joining STEM from STEM Education Works. Find us at stemeducationworks.com or on social media at STEM Education Works.